Hello, students. Uh, an idea struck in my mind when I was teaching Chaucer's prologue in the class. The last week, I was discussing prologue with my MA first semester students, and I started the text. And in the opening part of Chaucer's prologue, we find the reference of the month of April, and he calls it a pleasant month. In the class, I told my students, how can you compare, these lines with the lines mentioned by T.S. Eliot in The Wasteland. In literature, we have the reference of the month of April. It was done by many, writers at different places. And whenever we have this, the reference of the month of April, and whenever April has been mentioned, it is presented as a metaphor to delve into either of the extremes, damnation and paradise. So if you're going to analyze the lines of the prologue, or if you're going to analyze the lines of the wasteland, so you need to compare those lines with the other lines written by the great masters. Like, for example, in The Wasteland, Eliot talks about the wretchedness of the month when he says April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. So we have actually the most admired lines in literature that speak of the month of April. This was one example which I have just given you. Similarly, in the opening part of Chaucer's prologue, Chaucer says, when that April with his shards sweet, the drought of March had pierced to the root, and bathed every vein in such liquor of which virtue engendered is the flower. He says that April month is the pleasant month, and in this month, pilgrims plan to undertake the pilgrimage because this is very pleasant weather. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the 19th century American writers, now he wrote April, which is compiled in the complete works of Ralph Waldo Emerson. And there he says, the April winds are magical and thrill our tuneful frames. The garden walks are passional to bachelors and dames. Similarly, Robert Frost, who is a 20th century American poet, writes in one of his poems entitled Two Tramps in Mud Time, and the lines are, the sun was warm, but the wind was chill. You know how it is with an April day when the sun is out and the wind is still. You are 1 month on in the middle of May. So this is the depiction of the month of April in Frost's poem, Two Tramps in Mud Time. Shakespeare, in his 98th sonnet, says, April hath put a spirit of youth in everything. He compares the month of April with youth and vitality. Herman Melville, in his work Moby Dick, says, for as when the red-cheeked dancing girls, April and May, trip home to the wintry misanthropic woods, even the barest, ruggedest, most thunder-cloven old oak will at least send forth some few green sprouts to welcome such glad-hearted vigilance. So April here is compared with red-cheeked dancing girls. George Orwell, in his novel 1984, says at one place, it was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. It was, there in 1984 by George Orwell. William Cooper, at one place, says related to the month of April, but it is a sort of April weather life that we lead in this world. A little sunshine is generally the prelude to a storm. So, what I personally think is that whenever you are going to analyze the lines of Chaucer's prologue or Eliot's The Wasteland, you must give the reference of all these lines in order to better present the month of April. Thank you very much.